Hello everyone, this is Sujay Datta. We will be discussing the next set of questions from the CAT 2024 slot 2 Quant section. So moving to the next question, this is in the third video, we will be discussing question number 12 onwards. So this one says that Bina incurs a 19% loss when selling a product at 4860. So we can write 4860 is 100 minus 19, so that's 81% of the cost price. So from here, cost price of Bina becomes 6,000. Next, since the selling price of Bina is 4860 and she sold it to Sham, so the cost price is 4860. Now it says that Sham sold this product to Hari, and if Bina would have sold this product to Sham at the purchase price of Hari, so if the selling price of Sham basically, so if Bina had sold it at S, that would have been 17% profit. So we can say that S is 117% of the cost price, 6,000. So that comes out to be 7,020. So they're asking the profit of Sham. So it's a difference of these two. So if I subtract them, I get 2,160. So that is the answer. All right. Moving to the next one. So three circles touch each other, and then we have two other circles touching each of those circles. So let us draw that. So let us say these are the three circles which touch each other. Then the circles which touch these could be this one here inside and this one here outside. These two circles are X and Y. And it's mentioned that X is greater than Y. So X is the larger one and Y is the smaller one. So you have to find the ratio of their radii. Okay. So taking this as the center, and if I join the centers of the three circles, the first three circles, so we will get an equilateral triangle because all the circles have the same radii. So let us say the radii is 1 because we are only interested in the ratio. So it doesn't matter what we take. So if I name this ABC and let's call this PQR and let us drop the altitude also. So now CP, that is the altitude, will be root 3 over 2 times the length of the side, which is 2. Now O, this point, let's call it O, is the orthocenter, incenter, circumcenter, as well as the centroid. It's all of them. In the equilateral triangle, they are all the same point. So we know that CO is to OP will be 2 is to 1. So CO becomes 2/3 of root 3. So 2 over root 3. Now that CO is known, to find the small radius, we simply have to subtract this radius 1. So the small radius would be 2 over root 3 minus 1. And for the large one, we just need to add 1 again. So it's 2 over root 3 plus 1. So simplifying, it's 2 plus root 3 upon 2 minus root 3. Now they are in the rationalized form. So we rationalize by multiplying the conjugate. So we have squared on top. So that becomes 4 plus 3 plus 4 root 3 divided by 4 minus 3. So you have 7 plus 4 root 3 divided by 1. So that is the second option. Okay, let's move to the next one. So you have x and y which satisfy these two equations. So mod of x plus y is 15. And x plus mod of y minus y is 20. Let's rewrite it as mod of y plus x minus y is 20. Why? Because that kind of gives us the x minus y that we want. And then they're asking you what is the value of x minus y. So the best way to solve this quickly would be using the answer choices. So if I go with option A, that x minus y is 20, then mod of y becomes 0. So then y is 0. Then x must be 20. Now, does it satisfy this equation then? So we have 20 plus 0 is not 15. So that's not correct. If I next take x minus y to be 10, most likely this will also not work out because we need to get a 5 there, right? And if you work with multiples of 10, then most likely you are not going to get that. So skipping that, let's go to 15 and work it out. So x minus y is 15. So from here, mod of y becomes 5. So we have two possibilities. Y is 5 or y is negative 5. Now if y be 5, then x becomes 20. Now y is negative 5, then x becomes 10. Now from here, if I check the first equation, this becomes 20 plus 5. That's not 15, so that's wrong. But here, if it is 10 plus 10 minus 5, so that is 15, and that matches. So we have this as our set of solutions for x and y. So they're asking for x minus y. So x minus y is 15. So that is the third option. So instead of actually solving the two equations, we'll have to make multiple cases, right? So for x positive, one equation, for y positive, then another equation, and so on. It's better to just plug in the values and work it out. Okay, let's go to the next one. So we have this quadratic. They're saying the roots a alpha and beta of this equation satisfy this. Okay, so from the given equation, 3x squared plus lambda x minus 1 is 0. Alpha plus beta is minus lambda by 3. And the product is c by a, so minus 1 over 3. Now, 1 over alpha squared plus beta squared would be, if I simplify it, alpha squared plus beta squared over alpha beta whole squared. So on top, this can be written as alpha plus beta whole square. Why? Because I know these two only, right? So alpha plus beta whole squared minus 2 alpha beta divided by alpha beta squared. Now plugging in the values, alpha plus beta would be negative lambda by 3 squared, lambda squared over 9 minus 2 times minus 1/3, so plus 2/3 divided by alpha beta squared is 1 over 9. So this comes out to be lambda squared plus 6. So 2/3 divided by 1/9 is 2/3 times 9. So that is 6. And lambda squared by 9 divided by 1/9 is lambda squared. Now they are saying that this is equal to 15. So what we have here is lambda squared plus 6 is 15. So lambda squared is 9. Okay. So that gives us lambda to be plus minus 3. Now, the next part of the question is they're asking what's the value of this. So that's alpha cube plus beta cube whole squared. So we need to figure this out. So that is alpha to the power 6 plus beta to the power 6 plus 2 alpha beta whole cube. Now we know alpha beta, so that's fine. But we don't know this to the power 6 combination. So this is not the correct way of expanding, okay? So what we can do instead is we factorize alpha cube plus beta cube. So that is alpha plus beta times alpha squared plus beta squared minus alpha beta. And this whole thing is squared. Now, that can be again written as alpha plus beta whole squared times alpha squared plus beta squared is again alpha plus beta whole squared minus 2 alpha beta, which you have already a minus alpha beta, so that's minus 3. And this whole thing is squared. So let's drop that square. Yes. So now if I expanded alpha plus beta whole squared times alpha plus beta whole squared minus 3 alpha beta whole squared, this whole thing is squared. Now let's plug in the values. So alpha plus beta squared. Now we know alpha plus beta is minus lambda by 3. Squared it, it's lambda squared by 9. But then lambda squared itself is 9, right? So that is basically 1. Okay. Alpha plus beta is negative lambda by 3. So alpha plus beta squared would be lambda squared by 9. Lambda squared is 9, so 9 over 9 is 1. So this again becomes 1 minus, now 3 times alpha beta is 3 times minus 1/3, so that is negative 1 with a minus, so it becomes plus 1 and that's squared. So it's 2 squared times 1, so the answer is 4. So that is the second option. I hope this was fine. It's a little complicated, but then if you just follow the steps, eventually you would get to the answer. Moving on. So you have this inequality to solve. So it's 1 over x plus 5 less than equal to 1 over 2x minus 3. As you might be knowing, cross multiplying in inequality doesn't work because we don't know whether they're positive or negative. So we'll factorize, take them to the same side. So this minus, this would be less than equal to 0. So taking LCM, x plus 5 times 2x minus 3, 2x minus 3 minus x plus 5. So on top, you will have x minus 8 upon x plus 5 times 2x minus 3. Now observe something here. It's a ratio of two terms, okay? X minus 8 on top. In the denominator, we have x plus 5 times 2x minus 3. So if the ratio of these two is negative, I can just go ahead and multiply the square of the denominator, okay? Just to make things simple. Because I can't cross multiply since the same problem will still arise. We don't know whether this denominator is positive or negative. So I multiply with the square of the denominator. And the square is always a positive term, so the inequality remains unchanged. That kind of cancels out this. So we have a nice little polynomial to go around. That's x minus 8 times x plus 5 times 2x minus 3 less than equal to 0. This one will have the roots at 8, 3 over 2, and negative 5. Now, we have the wavy curve concept we'll use here. Any value of x which is greater than 8, if you check, let's say for example 9, 10 or anything, you will find that each of these three terms is positive. That means the curve will start positive, then cross the root, become negative, then again cross the root, become positive, and then become negative finally. So positive, negative, alternating in sign. We are interested in the negative parts because we are solving for less than 0. So we have this and this. So our solutions should have been x between 8, we have less than equal to, we are plugging in less than equal to, or, but now let us figure out what the original question was. The original question had x plus 5 in the denominator. So we can't put an equal to sign here. And we had equal to 2x minus 3 also in the denominator. So we can't put equal to 3 over 2 there as well. So final answer, x is less than equal to 8, greater than 3 over 2, or x is less than negative 5. So if I check, then the answer to this would be uh, the fourth option. Okay. Observe that no equal to's for these two. Okay. So I hope this was clear. This is the standard wavy curve concept that we have used here. Let's move on to the next question. Okay, so it's about ages. So it says when Rajesh and Garima. So there are two people whose ages are being compared in the past, present, and future. So let's just make a table for that. Rajesh and Garima. So somewhere in the past, at present, and somewhere in the future. So it says when Rajesh was the same age as Garima's present age. So if the Garima's present age is X, then Rajesh in the past at some point, we are talking of that point where it was X. At that time, the ratio was 3 is to 2. Okay, so if it is 3 is to 2, so it makes sense to keep this as 3x, 3x, and we can easily maintain the ratio 3 is to 2 and write 2x there. So when Garima at present is 3x, so when Rajesh was 3x, then Garima was 2x. So that's the link we have been given. So from here to here, it's a X years gap. So time goes, flies the same, passes the same amount of time passes for everyone, right? So here also it will be X years later. So this will be 4X for Rajesh. Now they're saying when Garima's age becomes the same as the Rajesh's present age. So Rajesh's present age is 4X. So when Garima will become 4X. So that's another X years later. So then Rajesh will also be X years later. So that will become 5X. They are saying what is the ratio of Rajesh and Garima? So 5X to 4X is 5 is to 4. So that's the second option.